Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Kiwi KC, and so I realized I didn't do a military moment this week, and I'm sitting in my car and I'm actually getting ready to go into work, so I'm going to make this as quick as possible. For this military moment, this is a question that I typically ask some of the airmen that have been here for a while, and even some NCOs, and that question is, when did you actually join? So naturally, when someone asks you when did you join, you typically say the day that you went to basic training. You typically say your total active federal military service date. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm referring to is, when did you actually buy into this company? When did you actually start believing in something greater than yourself? And for everyone and for every situation is different. And so I know for me, it's when I actually was stationed in Lackland. And so, you know, anything about my little history, by the time I got to Lackland, it was my third base. I had already been stationed overseas twice. I had already been deployed. I was a senior airman at the time. And at that moment, by the time I had came back to the States, a lot of those airmen, that was still their first duty station. So, you know, as Airman Little back then, I came in just a little cocky because I felt like I had more of an advantage. I felt like I had been around the block. I had actually did something, which I hadn't. But I was a little more experienced than my peers that I was stationed with as far as locations I had been to. And I remember meeting this Master Sergeant named Master Sergeant James Fleming. And so I'm very close to him now. That's the only reason why I'm going to say his name. And I remember the first time that I met him, I was in my blues. And I remember just having on my name tag, because that's all that you were required to do when you wear your blues. And that's still the only requirement. And so I remember when I met him, he looked me up and down. And he was like, well, I heard so many great things about you, but I feel like I'm just looking at a 3. So in the old eval system, an evaluation is an annual report that you receive that just basically is like a report card. So during that time, the highest that you could get is a 5, and average is a 3. So I've had several evaluations by that time, and I had never been a 3. I had always been a 5 or all 5, meaning all 5s in all of the different sections you could be graded on. So when he said it, you know, that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, well, who is he talking to? He must not know. And so I looked at my uniform. I'm like, well, I know I look good in this uniform. And so he was like, do you wonder why I asked you that? And I was like, I mean, I guess. And so he was like, well, I'm looking at your uniform. And so because I don't know you, that's the first thing that I see. And so when I see you, all I see is a 3, because you only did what you were required to do. You didn't do anything more. You didn't do anything less. Just a 3. And so I said, well, you don't have to wear your functional badge, which basically tells everybody around you what career field you're in. You don't have to wear your ribbons, which just basically tells everyone around you the awards or decorations that you've earned. And so he told me, doing that extra shit, excuse my language, I know my mama watching, sorry mom, doing that extra, going above and beyond, is how you become above average, or you exceed the standard. You have to do that optional shit that no one else is doing. So I just looked at him. I was like, man, whatever. I don't have to do all that. I done been on honor guard. I've been to Italy. I've been to Portugal. I've been to Qatar. I've been to all these places, and you're not going to sit here and tell me nothing different. So I had a little chip on my shoulder. So the following week, I wore just my functional badge. And he said, oh, okay, so you want to be a 4 this Monday? And so I was just like, what is this man's deal? And so he would call me out in front of everyone else. And I remember my first sit down with him. He told me he had saw so much potential, but it was one of those, you still have to stay humble. There's a very thin line between cocky and confident. And I was treading very, 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 very close to the cocky line. And there's always room to grow. There's always room for improvement. And so during that time, I went through a transition. So I joined straight out of high school. And so by this time I was over 21. So when I first came in, I was very, very, very naturally fit, I guess, very in shape. And at this time I was dating my now husband, And in Italy, he took me to all these different Italian restaurants where all you ate was pasta and pizza. And so I had gained a lot of weight. And it was one of those, like, just waking up one morning and wondering, like, where did this weight come from? And I was guessing myself. And I knew that I was great. I knew that I knew my job. I knew I was a hard worker. But I felt like everybody was just judging me on what they saw. And so I remember, because of jealousy and different envious individuals, anytime I would outshine them or outperform them, the only thing that they would have over me, so to speak, would be fitness. And that's not something that it's something I struggle with. It's something that doesn't come naturally like everything else that I'm really, really good at when it comes down to this uniform. And so I just remember, you know, one day we're doing PT and I just was like, man, this ain't for me. Because I felt like the PTLs and the people who were over it were just jealous and were doing extra things just to show that I wasn't, you know, the best of the best, because I was winning all of these awards. And I just remember him sitting next to me and telling me, you know, fitness and your appearance, that's what's within your control. And so if it's something that you don't like about yourself, change it. You don't have to stay in this place. Does it come easy for you? No. But you know what hard work is. And I would hate for you to have to hang this uniform up and put it up for something that's within your control. And so those words stuck with me, but I had received advice a lot. And the thing that made him different and someone else who meant so much and still means so much to me was the action behind it. And so maybe a couple weeks or months later, I had the pleasure of meeting now Senior Master Sergeant Hartson. And when I met her, it was the same thing. She was pregnant at the time, but she still was like super thin to me. And I'm like, these individuals are not relatable, because Master Sergeant Fleming was also very, very skinny. So I'm like, these individuals don't know. They don't know what it's like. And she began to show me pictures. And that's when I saw a human side, a human factor with her. And she went on to have her baby. And she was saying the same thing that Mr. Fleming was saying, that this fitness and you being in and you wanting more, like, this is what is within your control. But the thing that mattered, or the thing that meant so much to me, was not the fact that they gave this advice, but they were actually willing to put in the work with me. Now, these individuals did not struggle with this. This wasn't something that they had a hard time with. If you ask them, they may say differently, but it was one of those, like, I couldn't tell. But CMS Don Hartson would get up every morning and she would work out with me. She would run with me. She would tell me how great I was. She would push me, and it went beyond just having a conversation. It was the action behind it. And because of that, whenever I tell my airmen I'm going to do something, I want to put action with it, because I know that that's what mattered to me. And at that moment, it was one of those aha moments that you could be great in so many things, but everybody has room for improvement. But to me, one of the greatest principles that a leader can have, or a trait that a leader can have, is the action and the human factor. Are your airmen or the people that are under you, are they going to mess up? Yes, because we're human. Just as sure as you wake up in the morning, you're going to make a mistake. But having leaders that allow you to be human and allow you to have those mistakes, but also are going to be that plan of action to work with you to make sure that you're, you know, get to a better place. It's so easy to tell someone, oh, this is what you should do, that's what you should do. But it's another thing to actually grind with them. And them being willing to grind with me, and they owed me nothing. Nothing. They could have put their hands up and walked away like so many others had done prior to them, and I would have just, you know, continued to have that chip on my shoulder. But they didn't. They humbled me. And I know that it's because of them that I have re-enlisted. It's because of them that I've grinded and I've pushed, because they saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself. And it's crazy because the assignment that I'm currently in now has been one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging, in my entire almost 11 years that I've been in. And so I'm trying to dig deep and find, what was that moment that I actually joined? Because we all enlist at the same time when we raise our right hand, but when do you actually buy in and you push further, and you know that your circumstance right now does not define who you are, or it doesn't define where you're going. So I promised I wasn't going to make this long at all, but it's short, sweet, and to the point. So the question that I want to ask my military members, my military family that has been in, is, when did you actually join? And maybe you joined and you just didn't realize that you joined. And when I had this conversation with some of my friends or some of my peers, you know, they're like, Kiana, you're so blue. It don't take all that, X, Y, and Z. But sometimes it does. It really actually does. To actually put this uniform on and to grind and to believe in something that's greater than yourself. Because you have to leave a legacy for the next generation to follow. Legacy and honor means so much to me. I honor people like Senior Master Sergeant Hartson and Master Sergeant Fleming, retired, because they did not have to care about me, and they did. I honor them because they put in so much work and they earn those senior non-commissioned officer stripes that they wear. And I can only pray that I leave a legacy for the airmen that are coming behind me that's worth following. So until next time, this is Kiwi KC. Thank you for watching. Please, please, please comment, rate, subscribe. It's free. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you hit it. This is Kiwi KC. And until next time, thank you for watching.